Are you tired of getting emoted on in ranked match? Aw, champ, it's not fun. It never is. Do your opponents not respect you in raw super as soon as you approach them? That's never fun. Then you clicked on the right video, my man, because I got 5 tips for you guys to help you win more in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, whether you're just playing an episode battle and trying to do some what ifs, or if you in these ranked match streets like me, putting in that pain to get seen on these leaderboards. Special thanks to everyone that I reached out to in order to get a little more insight on the few of the things we're going to talk about in this video. But without further ado, let's hop right in. Number 1, and this one is going to be really important no matter what your skill level is. Stop wasting your ki every second of the match. Ki is one of our most important resources in this game because it allows us to maximize our damage, close in on our opponents faster when we need to, and even comes with some pretty unique qualities on certain characters. Thing is, there are things you're probably doing right now that are wasting your ki that you may not even notice. This little side-by-side dash right here is draining your ki and messing up your resource management ever so slightly. So that cool combo that you just learned that does 25k damage with the 6 super attack finisher, there's a reason you're only ever able to pull that off after you charge up for 20 minutes at a time and fly straight at your opponent with a full head of steam, because you've been doing this non-stop and don't understand why you're only ever at 2 bars of ki when it's time to actually engage the opponent and get something going. Another thing, if you know that your opponent is spamming Sonic Sway, stop mashing on them mindlessly. Start trying to work in your grab and ki blast and things like that a little bit more. When you get Sonic Swayed, it drains your ki as well. And I promise you guys, you don't have to dragon homing dash at your opponent every time you're more than 5 feet away from them. Of course, I'm not saying that you should never use this to close the distance, because that's what it's for, but just please be mindful of all the stuff that you're doing that's draining your ki that isn't converting to damage on the opponent. A lot of this stuff I do as well still, but I've just been aggravated enough times by now by not being able to finish combos I earned because I wasted just a little bit too much ki beforehand, that I want to address it so you can discipline yourself better as well. Number 2, and this is probably the single biggest one to me. Learn your defensive options and spend time learning the timings of these options. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is a crazy game, and if you've already been online and ranked, you know it's the wild, wild west out there. And when certain things happen, like when your opponent goes sparking mode and starts comboing you non-stop, it can feel helpless to get out, but you have more options than you think, whether on block or even when you're being comboed. Revenge counter and super perception are one thing, I get it, because they're new mechanics and will take some time for us to truly learn how to implement properly, but I get a lot of comments on my videos asking how I'm doing these long vanish chains with my opponents or how I'm Z countering them on block so often. You have to take the time to get these timings down, guys. I said this the first day on stream, I'm pretty sure, but the timings for super counter and Z counter, if they're still even called that in this game, feels a lot easier than in past Tenkaichi games. So if you put in a few hours to just solely try and practice this, don't care about winning or losing, or just hop into a CPU match on super difficulty, I promise you will eventually get it. For the vanish chains or just vanishing period when the opponent tries to strike you, you simply have to press the guard button the very moment before being hit. I'm not sure what the frames are, but literally just right before being hit, you have to time it though. This is also how you break throws as well. And for the Z counter, this one is traditionally a little bit harder than the other one. You press up and melee at the same time to counter and knock your opponent back, which can also lead into a combo. Now for Z counters, I could be wrong about this, somebody correct me down below in the comments if I am, but I think there might be other commands that allow you to do this as well. That might depend on what layout you're playing on. I'm not entirely sure about that, but up and melee is the method that I'm used to, and no, you cannot mash it. You gotta time it, guys. It does take practice, I know. So if you're not hitting your counters as much as you feel like you should and it seems impossible sometimes, just remember, don't mash. Focus on timing as precisely as you can. It just takes practice. And when you get timing for all of these different counters really down pat, you'll be able to do stuff like this cool perception / revenge counter interaction like it's nothing. I'm getting a little bit better at these too. And yes, a lot of characters have different unique animations for this interaction. Number 3, don't keep flip-flopping between control schemes. Pick one and try to stick to it. This one should be pretty self-explanatory, but it also translates across many different games you play as well. Whenever you're first trying to learn something that takes muscle memory, you don't want to constantly break your progress by shocking your muscle memory into forgetting what it's been trying to learn and giving it a completely different task. When I was trying to learn Zato in Guilty Gear Strive a few years ago, I went back and forth between trying to learn him using paddles and not using paddles because he's a negative edge character, and it took me weeks to finally make a decision, stick to it, and learn properly with the tools I had chosen, when it could have taken me far less time if I wasn't so indecisive and kept almost erasing my muscle memory. All that to say, if you want to play Classic, just play Classic. If you want to play Standard, just stick to that. Don't let some random in the comments who claims to be a Tenkaichi Pro but has no accolades whatsoever make you feel inferior because you play on a certain layout. Do what works for you and what makes the game the most enjoyable experience for you, because I promise if you just stick to one layout and focus on learning that, you'll make way more progress in a shorter amount of time. Number 4, understand what the settings you're choosing to turn on or leave on do in the settings menu. The first couple of hours of me playing this game were way more painful than they needed to be because I decided to have Revenge Counter Assist on. Now, for those of you that don't know, Revenge Counter is a new defensive mechanic in the game that kind of acts as a combo breaker or a get out of jail free card in certain circumstances, allowing you to counter an opponent that has you in a bad situation, but it does use your skill points. The little number under your icon that allows you to do a lot of cool things like transform, use your boost or evasive skills, and even go into sparking mode. So when you have Revenge Counter Assist on, the game takes it upon itself, it seems like, to kind of decide when to revenge counter for you, which in my opinion is a big no-go. Guard and recovery assists are one thing, but when the game is choosing when to use my skill points itself, this can put you in an even worse situation than the combo it just broke you out of. I can't even begin to explain how many times in those first couple of hours that my last skill count got used up against my will, and when I actually wanted to revenge counter or use something else on a whim that cost skill points, I was just broke. If that's your kind of thing, or you don't trust yourself to even remember that you can revenge counter in the first place, hey, more power to you. But I just like having control over every aspect of how I play the game. That's just me personally. And number 5, this one is more of just a personal opinion of mine and how I choose to play the game with DP team battles. But if your opponent switches a character out, whether it just be them switching that character out to another one or fusing into another character entirely, you should probably follow suit. Say you and the opponent just had a crazy back and forth battle for a minute or two. Both of you are at maybe 1.5 bars to 2 bars of health, but the opponent fuses into Gogeta. That Gogeta is coming in at full health, champ, and I hate to break it to you, but your character is about one combo away from going to see King Yempa. In my opinion, there's almost never really any point in leaving a weak character in to die much faster than your opponent's fresh character who probably has 4+ bars of health. One sparking mode combo and your ass is toast. This goes into knowing how to adapt to the match, which can be hard if you're tunnel visioning on a single character on your team. If you're not playing single battles, there's really no reason to play like that because it's just going to make your life harder in the long run if you're down a character against a full team. Keep the teams even as long as possible until you can get that advantage over your opponent by dwindling their team down. Well, if you made it this far, you just passed Tech's first week Sparking Zero Tips and Tricks University. Like I said at the beginning, I'm no pro at this game, but I feel like with the amount of time I've already put in, I've already learned a little bit, and I analyze a lot of other people's streams and videos too to learn things that I might not see in my own gameplay since I'm focused on the match itself. I hope you learned something. If you run into me online, go easy, champ. I'm Unk at this point. My thumbs don't work like they used to, okay? Don't forget to drop a like on the video if this was helpful to you in any way, champ. Down below in the comments, let me know which tip helped you the most. And if you have any tips that you want to share with the community to kind of help out your fellow warrior out there, don't be shy. Leave those down below in the comment section as well. Subscribe to the channel for more daily Dragon Ball Sparking Zero content, fellas. Have a great day. I'm going to see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.